Welcome back to another Pirkei Avot text explication. We are in the third chapter on text number 8. This is seemingly connected with the previous text that we had seen. Just to jog our memories, what was that previous text that we had seen? It was Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon had said, one who's walking on the way, teaching, reciting, and then interrupts their teaching and says, look how beautiful that tree is, or look how nicely plowed that field is. Scripture counts it to him as if he is accountable for his own sin, or his soul is somehow guilty. Now, we're going to see a very similar language in ours. So here we go. Rabbi Dostai, son of Rabbi Yanai, says from Rabbi Meir's name, everybody or anyone who forgets even one matter or even one word from one's study, one's repetitious studying their teaching, Scripture accounts for that person or throws it up upon that person as if one's soul is guilty. Exact same language as we see from the previous text. As it is said, and quoting from the book of Deuteronomy now, but take utmost care and watch yourselves scrupulously so that you do not forget the things that you saw with your own eyes. Now this connection that we see from the previous text of Rabbi Shimon talking about interrupting one's teaching and here one forgetting one's teaching, this is a pretty sharp, it's seemingly, ostensibly, because we're not done yet with this text, but an ostensibly sharp rebuke from Rabbi Meir, at least as indirectly quoted by Rabbi Dostai, son of Rabbi Yanai, that if you forget even one piece of your teaching, now it's unclear, I will point out, it's unclear if davar echad, if that means one thing, one subject, one topic, or if he means one word. It could be one word. Even forgetting one word, this is pretty high stakes. But I will point out, they didn't really have a lot of writing in their culture. Scripture, yes, Scripture was written, right? It was scribed. We actually see in this, that hakatuv, ma'ale alav hakatuv, Scripture. We say Scripture, but it is written because they distinguished the rabbis. All of their teachings were oral. But the Scripture, like Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, was written. They had books. Now, so this idea of a very oral culture, that everything is spoken, is very important. I mentioned in the previous text where Rabbi Shimon is talking about one who's walking in the way and they stop their study because they are speaking. And speech was so important. That's how they remembered. They spoke, they listened, and they retained up here. It wasn't like us, right? In our day and age, so much is on written words. But they were a very verbal, very oral culture. Okay. Supreme importance, yes, supreme importance on remembering things, on speaking. But he continues. One might think, one could have inferred that this is the case even when one's study proved too hard for one. Therefore, Scripture says, now quoting also from the book of Deuteronomy right there, that they do not fade from your mind as long as you live. Thus, now the scriptural quote is over, thus, one is not mortally guilty. This language of eno mitchayev benafsho, one is not mortally guilty unless one deliberately removes these words from one's heart. That's a very helpful clarification at the end of this text. That one is really only, it's not so much just simply forgetting something, but consciously removing them from one's mind. Removing things from one's mind is a very different stakes, right? It's a very intentional versus something simply forgetting. So it's, again, we have this language of mitchayev benafsho, more specifically hakatuv ma'ale alav hakatuv ki'ilu mitchayev benafsho. It's really interesting. Scripture counts it as if one's soul is guilty. Interesting, although it's a nice qualification here. So these things that they cannot be judged in court. They're just one's own soul, as it were, one's own identity. And this really continues along with the overarching theme that we've seen in Pirkei Avot of the importance and the value of studying Torah. And here it's not just studying Torah, but retaining it as well. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you so much for watching.